That's right.
Hi, this is Zia and this is
Kumana.
and welcome to
Holistic Nomads TV,
where ancient wisdom and modern science can help you to have more clarity and energy in your life. So, today's topic we are going to talk about the series, continuing from last week's series, is about how to balance the dosha through diet, and this week is about Pitta dosha. Is that correct?
That's it.
That's it. So, we are going to talk first about the dosha, just in case some viewers didn't watch the last week episode. So, first question, what is dosha?
What is a dosha? So a little recap, a dosha is a disease tendency. Its direct translation from Sanskrit is a defect or a fault. And although a dosha is much more than just faults or defects, it shows the highlight that the doshas are used to track the cause of imbalances, to see where did health go wrong and what sort of disease tendencies could there be. Yeah. Yet it's more than just in our body. It's a body type. Many people know this. What is your dominant dosha might show you a disease tendency in the body, but it can also be related to climate and the season, the disease tendency of the season. And today we're going to be looking at foods, substances, and what might be the disease tendency.
Next question is the three doshas. So there are three dosha.
Yep.
And explain a little bit about what are they?
So the dosha system are like categories that all of the world fits into. Three different doshas, and no matter what it is in the world, it would likely be able to fit into these three different categories. Some things might fit into a little bit of both categories, and through the dosha system we can connect the world together. We can understand its relationships, whereas a Western science model there's lots and lots of categories, and it's more about specified detail. In a traditional medicine model there's fewer categories, and it's more about how does the whole work together, what's the relationships between things.
At the beginning, I would say this understanding this dosha and the 5 elements was the only part that I kind of need to put more attention to, because it's a new language. But once I understand that, oh my God, it's just such, I don't know, world difference. To understand the world is just so different. So that's why, like, for you beginners, at the beginning, like, confused, what is Vata, Pitta, Kapha, what is that? Just keep going, keep learning.
That's right.
Yeah, and then after that, it will be so much easier.
Because it is like learning a new language. Once you've done it for a year or so, I say it's sort of like putting on your dosha glasses, and all of a sudden you just see the whole world through shades of the different doshas, and it really shows, oh, that's the strength and that's the weakness of that category of life, and how might it affect my body.
So now, we are going to focus on the Pitta dosha.
Yep, we did Vata last week, Pitta now.
Pitta. So can you explain a little bit more about Pitta?
So the first thing we look at is the elements related to the dosha. So Pitta is a combination of fire and water. It's predominantly fire with a little bit of water to it. So it's a fiery heat, steam sort of dosha. And its qualities, I believe, are the most important factor. If you're learning Ayurveda, think about the qualities. Learn the qualities of the doshas, the qualities of foods, the qualities of your exercise, and through this you'll see the connective language turn on. So the qualities of Pitta are that it's slightly oily. I think anywhere where there's slight oiliness on the skin or the body, it's sharp penetrating points, sharp voice, going for goals with passion.
Give me an example of sharp voice.
Sharp, intense voice. Hot, anything there's heat. It's the only dosha that creates heat is Pitta dosha. It's light, so it's light by weight. So people with more Pitta will have a lighter body build. Vata and Pitta are both light body builds. It's foul smelling, or a sour smell, so something that smells a bit weird, or a person that smells a lot, that might be a bit Pitta. And it's spreading. If the person has a lot of Pitta, they might spread their sweat across the room or spread their fame across the world. And liquid, it liquefies things, just like heat would liquefy butter into oily stuff.
Can you give an example of imbalances, diseases that is commonly occurred for people no matter what their body type is. If we correlate that with the qualities.
Might get a skin condition.
Skin condition.
Especially in the damp, humid type weather.
Yeah.
Skin conditions are very common. So here we are at the moment in the rainy season where skin conditions will start to become more common for many people. I'm treating an Indonesian person with a skin condition at the moment, partly through rainy season.
Is it because rainy season is hot?
Because it's the time of the year when Pitta peaks the most.
Okay.
It's been heat just before the rainy season, and then the damp. So this is the fire and the water that we were talking about. It's that dampness that comes with the rainy season. So it's like, Pitta smoulders in this. Another one might be an overly driven nature, where we're just going for goals and the next thing and the next thing. Or we've eaten too much alcohol or chili or something, to hot, fiery substances, and now that Pitta that we consumed meant that now we have to balance Pitta in our body.
Yeah, I can totally relate to the skin condition in the tropics. So every time I come back to Indonesia, the tropics, somehow my skin just flared up so easily. Just like red type of acne, it just come up, and it's like also oily kind of pimple. Because I remember when we went to the States for the winter for snowboarding, so it was cold, minus something degrees, and then my skin was just clear up, and I don't see much different in the diet, but just that, I mean, I knew it from you about how the environment that we live in affect us. Until I really experienced that, I was like, I remember Kimana told me about this.
The environment is huge. So that's why generally I recommend, if you're new to Ayurveda, the best place to learn Ayurveda is with lifestyle, the climate, the times of the day and activities for those times of the day. The nutrition, as we're going into in this class, is a little bit more of an advanced subject. And so if some of this is over your head, just go, whatever, take what you can and have a look at some of the other classes where we go into some of more of the beginner's subjects, which I think are ideal to start with.
On the first episode on how to balance Vata, we were talking a little bit deeper on how and why Kimana and us, basically, we rarely talk and share or teach about Ayurvedic diet for beginners. So go check out the previous videos for more explanation on that. So I'm going to go deeper through these qualities and how that relates for Pitta diet. The first one is slightly unctuous, and then sharp, hot, light, foul smelling. Is that what you say? It's foul smelling. Foul smelling, good.
Smelling.
Spreading and liquid. And then so basically all of these 7 qualities is the qualities of Pitta, which means Pitta balancing diet, you would like to, as much as you can, reduce or avoid food that has this quality. Is that correct?
That's right, You would decrease those qualities where possible.
And increase food that has the opposite quality.
Generally,
So now we're going to go to each qualities, and then you're going to give example. So the first one, slightly unctuous.
Slightly unctuous.
What is unctuous?
Unctuous is like oily, lubricating and sticky, all in one word. It's an old English word that's still used by Indians today. And something that's slightly unctuous. So deep fried would be slightly unctuous. It has this
crunchy,
oily, lubricating. It might be crunchy, which also can make it drying. This is a peculiar thing. It's slightly unctuous, yet it blocks, causing dryness on one side and lubrication on the other side. Then we've got blue cheese. Blue cheese is slightly unctuous,
Or just cheese in general?
Cheese in general. I particularly chose blue cheese here because I'm trying to pick things that will work with many of the other qualities to show that Pitta avoid
foods. It's my favorite, blue cheese. Something stinky, sometimes it's just
You love the stinky things, I
guess that's where that stinky outfit sometimes
Another one, slightly unctuous, is mango. We don't notice it, but mangoes have an oily sap that's inside them. If you were to pick a mango, there's this sap that comes out of it for a while, and that sap is also present inside the mango as well, and that sap is slightly oily. The opposite of that, the foods that tend to be a bit more drying, can help to balance Pitta in moderation. It's always about moderation. Not too much of those other ones and a little bit more of these ones.
Because if it's too much on that one, that will increase Vata.
It will aggravate another dosha somewhere else. So we all have all of them. We need to have a little bit more of these things. Azuki beans, or most legumes and beans, tend to be a little bit more drying. And because Pitta has the strongest digestive system, it can digest things like beans quite well, because we'll see they have another quality, heavy, that's part of them too. We have asparagus, is drying. Asparagus is a great vegetable for Pitta. And broccoli is also drying.
So that's about slightly unctuousness.
And its opposite quality
is dry. The next quality is sharp. What's the example of sharp?
So sharp, penetrating type foods.
We don't need knife.
No, we don't need to eat a knife for it to be sharp. Sharp means that it can penetrate deep into the body quickly and have a fast reaction. And they have quick reaction inside the body. So like chili can do that. You can just rub chili on the skin and it will penetrate deep into the body and you can have an effect internally. It has a very quick reaction on the system. It's not slow. Black pepper also, you can just rub it onto the skin with a little bit of water and it will start to warm up. You'll feel it there. It's sharp, it's penetrating.
Is ginger under sharp?
Ginger would also have some sharp quality. It's not as sharp and it has a few other shared qualities, so it would be more suitable for Pitta because of its other balancing qualities. Another one, rosemary. Rosemary has lots of little sharp points on the leaves in the way that it grows, and it's a sharp penetrating type herb as well, has a quick reaction.
Cactus?
Cactuses, many of them are sharp, so it depends on what you eat. Some of them you can eat, and some of them do have a quicker effect on the body. Not all of them though, and it sort of depends on the substance inside. Like rosemary has sort of sharpy points, but the substance inside is still sort of dry and you can feel it penetrate into you quickly. Some cactuses, the substance inside is very oily and lubricating and it won't penetrate into you very much.
And the opposite quality of sharp?
The opposite quality of sharp is like dull or soft or sluggish. It has a slow reaction. It's got a dull point to it. So something like milk would be an example of this. It's dull, slow. It has a slow effect inside the body. It's not so quick and stimulating to the system. Avocado would also be in this dull, sluggish effect, and so would cooked basmati rice.
If it's like, I just imagine it, visualize it in my mind, the sharp basically like wake you up, shake things up, and then while the opposite quality is like,
that's right. Whereas the Pitta's like, go, I want to do this, go, and they need a little bit more like, milk sedation.
Next quality, we have hot. That's easy.
So it's the only dosha that creates heat in the body, and heat tends to work with the digestive system and stimulate the metabolism a bit faster. So the obvious example of hot is something like chili. And it's important for us to realize that we're not just talking about hot temperature here, as we can see with chili. Temperature-wise, chili is not hot. It's no hotter than any other vegetable when you pull it out of the fridge.
But it's definitely make your asshole hot.
Exactly. The properties inside it are either heating or cooling. So this is present within all substances. It's not just the temperature, which is one of the factors. It's also the qualities of the substance internally. So we have chili, we have black pepper again, and we have
pipoli.
Vinegar. Vinegar.
Like
why
wine
would vinegar
kind of
be heating?
Because it's fermented.
Because it's fermented, exactly.
Anything
Anything that's fermented has used bacterias or other things or a fungus or something to ferment that process, and it usually makes a byproduct which may be alcohol or various other soury type tastes that tend to be heating.
Which is why interesting the culture in the world that does this kind of fermentation is not in the tropics.
That's
it's in the
right.
places
Much
where it's
less fermentation in the
cold,
tropics. The most alcohol drinkers, Scandinavian countries,
Yeah.
Russia, really cold climates where they needed a little bit more of that alcohol and warmth. And we'll see the dosha that benefits the most from alcohol next week.
Yeah. Now, talking about that, a fact that you told me about chili. So, we Indonesian, or I Indonesian, think that I can't live without chili. It's just like it's in my DNA. And then you told me, do you know that chili is not actually come from Indonesia? And I was like, you're joking. And then I remember like trying to correlate it with what you said about our body is kind of designed to survive in the area where we born, basically. And then chili is not local here, so that means that people in the tropics, like Indonesia, is not actually suitable to consume chili all year round like most of us do.
I would say any substance that is very strong in one direction and doesn't have a nice neutral quality ratio is not suitable for yearly consumption, regardless of if you're in Indonesia or anywhere in the world. It's about the things that are closer to neutral in their qualities are the ones that could be consumed almost every day without fear of aggravation. The things that are very in one direction with their qualities are the medicines. They're meant to be used for a certain season, for a certain condition, for short periods of time. They're not the everyday foods, which a lot of them have become. And it's very easy to have an addictive response to something that has extreme qualities to it. There's lots of a certain quality, then you're more likely to create an adaptation to deal with it. And as soon as the body adapts, it's like someone who doesn't ever eat chili, it's like the first time you eat it, it's like, whoa, that's really hot. But if you eat it for a while, it's like, oh no, I can handle chili fine. Once your body adapts to something, it starts to adapt to living with it. So then it goes, oh, now if I don't have it, I'm not going to feel good about it. So it becomes more addictive, a lot of the extreme tastes.
For me, with that one, with the chili, sharing an example that I couldn't poop if I haven't eaten chili the day before. So, it's just so interesting how much we adjust and living with this kind of, like, let's say I also have dominant pitta in my body, so I'm attracted with something that is also that light increases light. And then once it's born in, my body just can't survive without it. So interesting, which actually I need the opposite element of hot, and that is
cool. The opposite of heat, some examples are like alfalfa sprouts. Might not be the best for Zia regularly because they're also drying and rough and could aggravate her Vata, but a little bit on her food could be great. Another cool one could be apples. You know, apples are quite cooling. They come out towards the end of the summer to cool down the body. And basmati rice.
What about the difference in cool and cold? Because when people think, oh, it's hot, drink a ice, glass of ice, it's like frozen something. What do you think about that?
Well, that's still cold. It's very cold, and if we put a cold temperature thing into the digestive system, it tends to shrink the digestive pores. We don't secrete as many juices. We're more likely to have digestive problems.
To balance pitta, it's not necessarily about using cold, freezing water.
No, it's definitely not. It's about using cold-natured substances, and a little bit of cool water is fine, but definitely not drinking lots of cold water.
Next quality, light. What's the example?
Light. We've got bitter melon, rocket, and dandelion. So these are all leafy green type things, except for the bitter melon, which is still a vegetable, but it's quite a light type vegetable.
The opposite quality of light is?
The opposite is heavy. So things like avocados are heavy, lentils are heavy. They're hard to digest. One of the things with light and heavy is light can also mean that it's very quick to digest. You eat it, and then in a short amount of time you feel hungry again. So we looked at like a rocket, a bitter melon. These things are quick to digest. You're going to get hungry again in a short time. Whereas something that's heavy, like potatoes, these sorts of things are going to take much longer. Pumpkin, avocado, lentils. You'll be a much longer time before you're hungry. And Pitta has such a strong digestive fire. They need to get something that feels like, Oh yeah, I feel a bit full and it's going to last me at least a couple of hours.
So for someone like you can't just have breakfast or lunch just salad because you're dominant Pitta.
Oh yeah, it drives me crazy. My mind feels so agitated. If I'm eating a very light diet, I do not feel grounded at all.
Next time, if you like to invite Kimana for supper, just so you know, Kimana likes pumpkin and curry.
Pumpkin, oh, they're my favorite. Yeah.
Next quality is foul smelling.
Foul smelling.
I can know. So something like cheese.
Cheese?
Something like...
Particularly like a blue cheese.
Blue cheese, the stinkiest of all. Shrimp paste.
Shrimp paste, yeah, that's a foul smelling one. So.
I grew up with that, so I know.
Oyster sauces, fish sauces, all of those, they'll tend to aggravate Pitta.
Yeah. And then the opposite quality is...
And then we've got another one.
Oh, what's the other one?
Durian.
Don't say that.
She's like, that's not foul smelling.
That's like good smell.
If you eat a lot of durian, it will come out of you as well. That's where it will smell, will go everywhere. And although I personally do like the smell of durian, it's still a strong smell that a lot of people would say, to the point where it's illegal to take it onto trains and many other places because so many people don't like the smell of it.
Yeah, I would still disagree. Sorry. So the opposite quality of foul smelling
might be something that's sweet smelling and delicious.
Smelling like baby smell.
Oh, like a fresh baby, yeah.
Fresh baby, do they sell it?
I hope not, yeah. Strawberries.
Strawberries,
when you smell strawberries, it's like, and they've got this sweet taste to them, sour and sweet together.
Yeah.
Quite tridoshic in my opinion. Some sites say the strawberries avoid for Pitta. I think they're quite fine, as long as there's not an allergic reaction to them specifically. Cardamom, it's like, this sweet, delicious smell. It's one of my favourite essential oils. It's quite sweet smelling.
Rose. We were just talking about rose the other day,
Yes, rose petals are a great food. They balance Pitta, can be used to balance Pitta, and fresh basmati rice. Yeah.
So you mentioned, I just want to make a note that you have mentioned several food substance in several categories.
Yeah.
So we will see if it come up again, and because that means it's a sign that that food is particularly for Pitta to be aware of.
Yes, that's right.
Next quality is spreading.
Next one is spreading. So things that spread out in different directions, that disperse and move. And when it comes to food and substances, we don't necessarily mean the substance moves and spreads everywhere. We mean its qualities are easy to spread and move. So if we took chili or alcohol as an example, you could just break up chili and you'd start smelling it throughout the room.
Yeah, it makes you like coughing.
Because it spreads.
Yeah.
It moves all over the place. Alcohol, all you need to do is take the lid off some pure alcohol and it's starting to disperse and it's spreading all throughout the room. It's naturally just spreading and moving everywhere. So both of these substances will tend to aggravate. Garlic would be another example. The essential oil is so strong that if you start crushing it, it will just spread all throughout the space.
Yeah. And the opposite quality?
The opposite of spreading is something that's consolidating, that draws things together into one area. So an almond is consolidating. It draws things together. It has heavy proteins and fats. Without your body's energy, it won't move into the other parts of the body. It takes your effort to move it there. And Pitta already spreads things everywhere easily, so it needs something a bit like an almond.
Pulling back.
Hold it back to pull and condense it in. So whole grains are also particularly stable. They're not spreading so much.
What about activated charcoal?
I'm not sure.
Just in case, because Pitta stool, loose stool, so it's,
Yeah, I think, it would be, because it's not, and even smells are drawn into activated charcoal. It's used within environments to draw smells towards it, and inside the body it draws substances into it. Yeah, that would be one, activated charcoal.
Next one, the last quality is liquefying things.
Yeah, liquid is the opposite of solid or semi-solid. Does something remain liquid or does something move into a solid?
Yeah.
And liquid, something like alcohol, it's very liquid.
In terms of like the substance itself is liquid?
The substance itself is a liquid,
Yeah.
and it will tend to
Make things...
move in a liquid way.
Yeah.
It's very hard to solidify alcohol. You can
Yeah.
put it in a freezer and it still doesn't solidify.
Okay.
No. Water is liquid, yet you could freeze it and it goes into other states easily. Juice is liquid.
Yeah.
So these things are in the liquid direction.
Yeah. When you say about liquid, does it also mean that this substance makes things liquefying things? For instance, if you eat chili itself is not liquid.
Chili is liquid, yes.
Chili is liquid.
That's right. Yeah, it itself is not liquid, but it will liquefy something. It stops things from becoming solid and turns them into a liquid.
Yeah, it liquefy your poop.
Exactly.
And the opposite qualities of liquid is...
Opposite qualities is something that is solid. So a whole grain is solid.
Yeah.
Compared to alcohol that's totally liquid. We could drink the beer, alcohol, the liquid off the grain, or we could eat the whole grain boiled up, and that would be solid. That would be much better for Pitta.
Yeah.
Whereas some doshas could benefit from a little bit of a fermented grain alcohol type beer thing.
Yeah.
Butter compared to water, they're both lubricating to the body internally, but butter is much more lubricating and is solid.
Yeah.
And whole fruit compared to juice. The juice was in the liquid.
Yeah.
Pitta will benefit from eating the fibre and the solid portions that are in the fruit, whereas the liquid portion is just the juice section.
So, summary, talking about that, putting into action, putting into practice about, let's say, juice, because you just mentioned about juice, and then nowadays there is this smoothies diet for breakfast, let's say. So, would you say that's something that is good for Pitta in terms of like having smoothie or juice for meal or breakfast, let's say, specifically?
I would say if they're having a smoothie, then it would require them to use more of the solid type things. But they're blending it up. Doesn't mean that the qualities of the solid things are no longer solid.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you put a whole fruit inside the blender and you blend it, it still has the fibre in there. It still has those things that made it solid.
Yeah.
Different to a juice where you're taking the fibre out. If you're putting some protein powder in there and it's a brown rice type protein powder or something, then again it has that solid portion within there. So I don't think a smoothie is such a bad idea. It's about what are the nature, the qualities of what you put in there.
Yeah, cool. So now, as a summary again, I heard several food or substance that you mentioned several times needs to be avoided. Unfortunately, chili, garlic, onion, alcohol, fermented things like cheese. There's just some of it. Is that correct? And the one that you Pitta is dominant Pitta, or anyone that has Pitta imbalance, the foods that needs to be increased, dominated are, first one I heard a lot about, basmati rice.
Plain basmati rice, so balancing for Pitta. It's heavy enough to give them a feeling of satisfaction, but not disturb the digestive, very neutral.
Yeah. And then root veggies.
Root veggies,
veggies, like pumpkin.
Like pumpkin, it's not a root vegetable, but
that's heavy veggies, and root veggies. And then avocados.
Yeah, avocados could be good for Pitta.
Yeah, you mentioned about that several times. And then good fats.
Good fats,
like
olive oil, butter.
Butter. Anything else you would like to add?
That's good for the diet. I think we should keep it simple and beginners and not go into lots of other areas.
Cool. Okay.
For those who would like to help others heal holistically, or just wishing to take more control of their own health and self-care, check out the programs on ayurvedicyoga.com. I brought together some of the world's best health experts teaching people what I consider to be the 6 most important branches of holistic healing.
Now, theory without practice is wasteful, so that's why it is your turn now to put the insight into action. Leave a comment below on what's the one thing that you learned the most from this class. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you will be the first to get notification for the next upcoming educational videos. And if you like to get more resources, go to our website www.holisticnomads.com. There will be a page called Free Resources. You'll get all the downloads from the Ayurvedic Dosha charts, quiz, and everything is all there and it's free for you to download. Talk to you again next week. Bye!